All right, y'all. Let's see. Let's see.
How many of you have had sleep paralysis? You know when you're lying down on your bed, fall asleep, but your brain is still awake? In those moments, you are completely helpless. If it has ever happened to you, just imagine it. Your body is completely frozen, but you can see everything that happens. As you are half asleep, the waking world is combined with your most
Yeah.
terrifying nightmares. You can see all kinds
hop
of
back on. I
demons,
thought
beasts,
you
and
posted
wild
this video.
animals walking towards you. And the more you try to move, the more you try to wake up, the more scared you get, triggering even worse nightmares. Sounds really scary, doesn't it? Now imagine how terrifying this was for me. A person who always had sleep paralysis, but one time, the terror became more real than ever. For the shadow that haunted me that night was not part of a nightmare, nor something that would go away when I woke up. It was a real person. To be honest, sleep paralysis was something that terrified me as a child, but not so much as an adult. I had it so many times that I was used to it. I knew all the techniques to cope with sleep paralysis. Wiggle my fingers a little at a time, don't get desperate, don't sleep on my side, and once awake,
weird, bro.
don't fall asleep immediately and go and wet my face a little so that it doesn't happen again. If you have it chronically, sleep paralysis is something you live with. But that night, it was different. That night, I had a different sleep paralysis. When I have sleep paralysis, I see all kinds of shadows and monsters walking around me. But when I calm down, all the shadows go away. But this time, it was different. This time, there was a shadow that behaved totally differently. This one didn't come to attack me or do anything potentially dangerous. It was just looking at me, walking slowly around my room, approaching me little by little and inspecting me. Even though I tried to calm as much as I could, even though I tried to imagine other things to make the shadow disappear, it was still there. I began to despair. I tried to breathe, but it was getting harder and harder. Meanwhile, the shadow was still there, watching me with a lot of intrigue and malice. And suddenly, I just woke up. It was already daylight in my house, and I was alone without danger. From that day on, everything went from bad to worse. I kept having sleep paralysis even more frequently than usual. The visits of that shadow became more and more frequent, to the point where I got to see her every day.
Oh, man.
But none of her visits were the same as before. Every time I had sleep paralysis, every time I saw that shadow, I was more and closer and closer. I didn't know what it was that made me dream of that shadow, but I knew that every day I woke up worse, and that there was nothing I could do to avoid it. Everything kept escalating until one day I reached the limit. That night I had sleep paralysis like the other days, but unlike other times, the shadow was behaving differently. At first I didn't see it. My room was empty, and I was trying to keep my composure and move my fingers a little at a time as not to dream of anything too scary. But suddenly, as if it had been there all the time, the shadow appeared, and this time it was in front of me. I could see his eyes twitching from side to side in a sickly way. His smile was huge and marked, and his body seemed to be drowned in a shadow that did not allow me to see anything in detail. Once in front of me, this strange being stuck out its long, horrible tongue and began to run across my face.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. If I feel something in the middle of the night, red, long, licking my face, bro, it's up. It's up. It's up because ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Subtly, but obsessively. Everything felt so real. It was as if it was really there torturing me and enjoying every second I was asleep. I tried to use all my strength to wake up. My body ached, and the terror grew greater and greater with each passing second. I felt like I couldn't breathe, but somehow I had to wake up. In a last desperate attempt, I screamed at the top of my lungs and woke up, giving a short, dry scream in the middle of the night. Once awake, I breathed, agitated and nervous. That was the worst sleep paralysis I had ever had in my life. I put my hands on my face to wake up a little more, and that's when I realized the worst thing possible. My face. My face was full of saliva. With my eyes already adjusted to the darkness, I looked ahead, and that's when I saw him. There was a man in front of me.
Oh, no. Look at him. He's ugly. Oh, no.
He was just sitting in my chair, staring at me with a huge grin from ear to ear.
Oh no.
I knew that smile. I knew that way of looking at me, and I knew that man. He acted exactly like the shadow I saw in my sleep paralysis. It was at that moment that I realized that the shadow was not part of my imagination. It was a real man. A man who came to my house every day. A man who started observing me from a distance, and little by little, he encouraged himself to get closer to me, to the point of standing next to me and licking me. Discovered, the man approached me once again, showing me a terrifying knife, and with a smile he said to me, "See you soon, whether you fall asleep or not." After saying those words to me, I could only stay on the bed completely static, while he left through the window. After that, I called the police and told them everything. In disbelief and confusion, they told me they would keep an eye on the area, but just in case, I went to sleep a few nights in a hotel. Shortly after, I found out that the man was arrested. His name was Mark Anthony Gonzalez, and apparently, I was the first man he attacked. This psychopath was into breaking into women's homes and touching their feet. He always escaped from the scene of the crime when they woke up, but because of my inability to wake up from sleep paralysis, he became obsessed with me. I never heard from this man again. I only know that he is behind bars. As for me, I still have sleep paralysis almost every night, but this time I have a security system in my house to wake me up in case someone breaks in. Who knows what things could happen to me while I'm sleeping?
I had never experienced sleep paralysis until the age of 28. I knew what it was and had heard about some real-life experiences of sleep paralysis, but never experienced it firsthand.
Come on. I know y'all see what I'm looking at. I know y'all know what I'm looking at. I know y'all know what I'm looking at.
Then I met Peter. We dated for 2 years and then got married. Peter was the son of a wealthy businessman and a great businessman himself. He lived in a big villa on the property he shared with his parents and his younger sister. It was wonderful having a family of your own after being raised in foster homes. Peter and his parents were very welcoming. Of course, for the upkeep of the villa and to cook, they had several housekeepers and chefs. I was very thankful for the life he had offered me. However, since the day I moved into his home, I had a sinking feeling in my heart that I was being constantly watched. Most of the time it was only me and Peter in our villa and a couple of housekeepers who lived in the outhouse. So technically there was no one around to keep an eye on me. However, as the days passed, the feeling grew more and more stronger. That's when the first incident happened. Just so you know, I'm a dead sleeper, meaning if I sleep at night, I only wake up in the morning. No matter what is going on around me, I will not wake up.
Is that true? People have that? What the freak? That's that weird stuff right there. That's weird.
Most part of my life, I have appreciated this quality. But now that I feel unsafe in my own house, it's kind of a disadvantage. Peter and I share a bedroom. At around 11 p.m., we both went to bed, and in no time, I was flat out asleep. Then in the wee hours of the morning, when it was still dark outside, I woke up. I was sleeping flat on my back, and Peter was right beside me. My eyes were wide open, but I could not move. It was as if my hands and legs were tied with tight ropes. I could not even move my neck around. Then, through the corner of my eyes, I saw a figure standing by our bedroom door. It looked like a petite woman around average height. My first reaction was to reach out to Peter and wake him up, but I could not even move my wrist, let alone my whole hand, to wake him. He was softly snoring, with his back to me. Then I tried to talk. Hell, I tried to scream, but no sound or words would come out of my mind. I felt like my vocal cords had stopped working.
Just imagine.
My eyes were taking in each and every movement in the room. the fans rotating above me. I could hear everything too. Then I looked at the door again and saw the woman was still there. I wanted to ask her for help, but somehow I knew she was not there to help me. On the contrary, she was there to harm me. I tried to move once again, but my body had completely locked up. Then I heard whispers coming from the woman. I could not decipher what she was saying, but she was definitely saying something. And as she whispered, the pressure on my body increased, and my eyes shut on their own. Now I was awake, but unable to even open my eyes. Then everything around me blacked out. The next morning, when I woke up, I was drenched in sweat. Peter was nowhere to be found in the room, and I could finally move my body. I could not understand what had happened last night, so I decided to keep it to myself. The moment I stepped out of my room, Leah, a sweet young girl who worked in our villa as a housekeeper, approached me. "Are you okay, ma'am? You look a little unwell," she asked me with concern in her eyes.
No, that's crazy.
She was the one I liked the best out of the 3 regular housekeepers we had. She minded her own business and did her job well. "No, I'm fine, Leah. Just couldn't sleep well last night. Is Peter in the dining room?" "Yes, he is having breakfast. Do you want me to bring you your breakfast?" "No, that's fine. I will join him." That day, I did a bit of research and found out that what had happened to me was sleep paralysis, and all the things that I experienced were pretty common and nothing to be afraid of.
Nah.
So, I
That was
chalked
me,
it up
I'd
as
been
nothing
freaking out, ain't no
and
way.
moved on with my day. Almost a year passed,
Right now.
and nothing of that
Jeez.
sort happened again. I had settled into my new life pretty well,
She said years?
and the best part was Peter and I were expecting. I was pregnant with our lovely baby girl. I was 5 months along and had started to show. My whole family was delighted, especially Peter's parents, as it was their first grandchild.
Okay,
Leah was
okay.
helping me every step of the way. Whenever Peter wasn't around to assist me, she was always there. She and I had become good friends over the years, and I was delighted to have her with me. One night, Peter and I went to bed as usual, and due to the stress of the pregnancy, I was sleeping a little too much. However, that night I was again woken up by extreme pressure on my chest and limbs. I could move my eyes, but nothing else.
Again, a few
I looked
years
towards the
after.
door, but the woman wasn't there.
be a
Instead,
jump
I
scare?
felt something soft on my neck, but I couldn't move my head to see what it was. The tickling sensation soon reached my cheek, and then I saw the most horrifying thing in the world. A completely black woman was sitting on my chest, and she was holding my hands and legs prisoner. She was shifting her weight on my swollen belly, and I was super scared this time, not for me, but for my unborn daughter. I tried to wake my husband, but I could not reach him,
that's
nor
sad
could I
and
call out to
crazy.
him. The woman was breathing close to my face, but I could not see any of her features, as her face was fully black, but her eyes were red and glowing, looking straight at me. Her hair was tickling my cheeks and neck, and she was holding me tight. Then she whispered something in my ears, which I could not make out. As I was so scared, the weight on my belly became unbearable, and suddenly, she disappeared. I woke up coughing and breathing heavily. I caressed my stomach, and everything seemed fine. But I could not hold back my tears. My sobs and coughing woke up Peter, and I told him everything that had happened. He consoled me and told me that it was just sleep paralysis. But from that day onwards, I experienced sleep paralysis almost every other day. The experience was always something similar and involved that petite black woman with glowing red eyes.
Petite black women.
I had entered my 6th month by then, and my mental health was depleting because of the lack of proper sleep. I was afraid to sleep at night. Finally, Peter and I decided that it would be good for me to visit my parents for a few days. I hadn't seen them in months. The day I arrived at my parents', I started sleeping well. My health started getting better, and I was overall a happier and healthier person, just like my old self. Plus, I had no single sleep paralysis incident. I missed my in-laws, as they were one of the nicest and most supportive people, and I also missed Leah. Peter used to visit me on weekends and take me to every doctor's appointment. At the start of my 7th month, Peter came to visit me one late evening. He wasn't his usual self, as he looked tired and disturbed. "Hey, what happened? Are you okay?" I asked him, worried. We were sitting in the living room of my parents' house.
I fired Leah.
"Why? Why would you do that? Did she do something?" I was a bit angry, as he had fired not only one of our best housekeepers, but also my friend.
Do you want to know why you're having sleep paralysis so much?
"Yes. What do you mean?" I was baffled at first. I did not know where this was going.
Leah tried to seduce me and break us up. She was in love with me and wanted to be with me, and she hated you. She became your best friend so that you could trust her and confide in her. The moment you started to show, she got extremely jealous and started adding some type of drugs in your food and drinks that made the sleep paralysis worse. The moment you left, she made a move on me, but I flat out rejected her, as I love you. But she made a stand and went hysterical. She cut herself with a broken piece of glass and threatened me that if I don't leave you and marry her, she would kill herself. But before she could pull off that stunt, Dad's bodyguards got involved, and now
That's a different type
she's behind bars.
Weird, bro.
I was so scared for you and the baby. So I talked to the doctors and they told me that everything is fine with you and our daughter. The drugs didn't do much other than give you extreme sleep paralysis. If you would have stayed there, even a day more, God only knows what would have happened. Both of your lives were in danger. But now, you can return home. It's safe.
This explained a lot about the constant feeling of being watched, the tasteless food, and the sleep paralysis. Leah wanted to make me mentally unstable so she could replace me.
Well, that's weird, bro. That really is. Well, thank y'all for watching the video. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And I'm going to be making more videos like this probably every Sunday night or Saturday night. I don't know yet. It's my first time, so in the comments, let me know when should I make horror nights. Sunday night or Saturday night? Which one y'all think? Peace.